Good evening and welcome to the April 18th meeting of the Glendale Historic Preservation Commission. The time is about 5:08. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable Channel 6 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, iOS, and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Call 818-548-4013 for program schedules. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any question about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the city clerk at 818-548-2090 during regular business hours. May we please have a roll call, Mr. Platt?
Sure. Commissioner Doom?
Here.
Commissioner Yurka?
Here.
Commissioner Head?
Here.
And Chair Crognati?
Present.
And Commissioner Paul is absent.
We don't need to make a motion to excuse him or anything, right?
For what?
We don't need to make a motion to excuse him or anything, right?
No.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
The agenda for the April 18th, 2024 regular meeting of the Glendale Historic Preservation Commission was posted on April 15th, 2024 on the bulletin board outside of City Hall. We have 2 months of minutes that we need to approve.
Let me just jump in really quickly.
Okay.
On the website, there were 2 versions of the minutes published, which I've corrected. So I'm not sure if you saw, it's for the March 21st hearing. So the correct version is on the web now, which it was, but it was in the wrong place, and something was in the wrong, another thing was in the wrong place. And so the correct one is in front of you. They're very similar, but there were a few things that needed changing.
Did you give me the one to sign? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, your signature line should be on both.
One at a time, I think.
Can we do them both at the same time, or do you need to do them separately?
Unless you have any corrections or questions.
Everything good?
We're all good? I'm good.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve both months of minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes for both February and March.
Second?
Second.
Awesome. Do we need a roll call? I think we're good, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Do we have any, or we don't have any oral communication speaker cards, do we?
You do have one off-agenda communication about Rockhaven.
Oh, yes.
That's printed. There's no callers.
Okay.
But if you want to summarize that. Or,
Yeah, so we did get an email from Joanna Linkhorst regarding Rockhaven. It looks like she went to the property and just wanted to point out that, From the outside, the beautiful tarps are watertight. We noticed one corner on the little hospital that had started to blow off, but other than that, the small section they are holding on mightily. Bolts driven into the historic eaves hold them on. What you do not see are the damaged doors and broken windows. You cannot see the continued sagging of ceilings or the failing of foundations. Tarps are temporarily covering the roofs, but not helping all the other issues these buildings face. The historic structures are not properly mothballed, and drainage issues are still not addressed. The SWA report presented to City Council on February 27 speaks only to the issues with the Pines building, since it is to be made into a museum. Nothing is being presented to show the other structures, which are all listed on the state and national registries. She included some photos for us to see. So thank you, Joanna, for that.
And just on a related note, we are getting ready to set up a site visit for
Great.
everyone. What I would like to do, so I just want to take this opportunity to check on not a firm scheduling issue. My thought is to have, we have to do it as 3 tours if all 5 of you want to participate. And I'm picturing about an hour for each tour, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on a weekday. Is there anyone, if you could just keep that in mind, let's just say, and tell me if there are days and times that would work for you, and I'll try to juggle you guys so we can get everyone.
Great.
Do you want to, Tuesdays and Thursdays are out for me.
Just by email later on is fine. Then Daniel can help us. Well, I'll check in with him, so.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that that works, just selfishly to kind of
Be
make
quite
it a
efficient, wouldn't it be?
one-day thing, but if
Yeah.
it doesn't, we'll figure it out.
Okay. All right. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments?
Yes.
Woohoo! Let's start to my right.
All right, thank you. I wish to first invite people who are watching and are interested this Saturday, April 20th at 10 o'clock. If you wish to go to tour one of the great American landmarks across our country, a cemetery, courtesy of Commissioner Morgan, the Pioneer Cemetery, first opened in 1874 and is the location for the iconic film Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, my favorite.
The Crescenta Valley Historical Society will be joining a tour by the San Fernando Historical Society and lead us on a tour of the abandoned cemetery. Or not abandoned, but open cemetery. And you can email lawlerdad@yahoo.com, LAWLERDAD@yahoo.com for an RSVP this Saturday, April 20th at 10 o'clock. And then second, my announcement is to invite you, I'll hold this flyer courtesy up and read you the announcement, for a craft sponsored by Women Arts and Crafts Fair. All women, 300 different crafts makers will be present at St. Luke's of the Episcopal Church on Foothill and Rosemont in La Crescenta, Saturday, April 27th from 10 to 4. And this will benefit Friends of Rockhaven, and it's sponsored by Supervisor Catherine Barger and the CV Weekly. So I encourage you all to come and just peruse the artwork of these women on Saturday, April 27th from 10 to 4 at St. Luke's of the Foothills. And I have a card for each one of you, courtesy of former Commissioner Morgan.
Great.
There you go, and one for Jay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Majorca, do you have something you want to say?
I did have something I wanted to say. I had some comments following the March meeting, and this involves the discussion, the review of the 2 properties that were seeking Mills Act contracts. As you remember, I had to recuse myself from that hearing because I live within 500 feet of one of the properties. In February, the commission had a long discussion about what the process should be for reviewing contracts, what factors we were going to take into consideration, what points we were going to assign different things. And we spent about 3 hours on that, and I participated in that conversation. I was very disappointed in listening to the hearing regarding the 2 properties that came forward for Mills Acts to hear my fellow commissioners relitigate the process and open up an entirely new conversation about things that we would consider and award points to in making decisions about whether to recommend a Mills Act contract. For example, the issue of whether a property owner would be credited for bolting their house to the foundation. We had spent a lot of time on that in February, and we had decided that we would count it. And then what happened in March is that got reopened, and we discussed it again and decided not to count it. Now, quite apart from what I think is just a wrong decision, because it's very hard to preserve a property that has been moved from its foundation during an earthquake. And there is no mandate in any of our codes that you would need to restore a property that basically has been badly damaged. I was not available for that conversation, and I think that it was inappropriate. I think it was a Brown Act violation because that was not what was agendized. We had done that the previous month. I remember that Jay said in response to that conversation that he would make a note and remove bolting the foundation from consideration in the future. Please don't do that.
All of this will go to council, and I'm taking notes now, and they will hear that you were displeased with that discussion, and, ultimately, council will make, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, definitely.
Yeah, and I think you were concerned because you raised issues at least before I was so annoyed that I stopped listening. But anyway,
If only we could all do that.
yes. But anyway, I don't know how it went off the rails, but it upset me that this important discussion about what counts toward awarding a Mills Act contract happened when I was not there, because I don't think that was right. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yurka. Citing no old business, let's move on to new business. Item 7A, 1239 Rossmoyne Avenue. Jay, would you like to introduce our case planner?
I will introduce Eric G., who
Great.
is the case planner for this project, and he will show you. Oops, wait a second. There we go. I left a slide behind from last month, so here we are. And then Eric, you need to control from here, so we're going to switch seats. Or do you want me to just move the slides if that's easier?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry.
I saw that we're going to be juggling a lot. so. Yeah, that's on. Here. Now it's on. Let's say some.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This request is for an approximately 1,080 square foot addition to an existing single-family residence at 1239 Rossmoyne Avenue. The property is located in the R1 District 2 zone, and it's identified as a district contributor to Rossmoyne Historic District. And the proposed addition meets all zoning code, and the design is to be considered by the Commission for approval. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, the previous slides.
Oh, sorry.
So the subject property is located in a 10,920 square foot lot that's irregularly shaped, and the home was built in 1927 in Spanish colonial revival architecture. Here in the photo, you can see some of the character-defining features, such as the decorative vents, the balconets, the wooden grills in the windows. Next slide, please. Here we see some more gable roof that has S-tile roofs that are existing on the house, and a balcony cover on the front second floor. And that does not appear to be original to the home. Some of the other character defining features that the house has are the exposed rafters and this porte-cochere to the side. And here we see like how, next slide please. And so here we see the rear side. Back in 1977, there was a permit for an addition, and that's the portion that we see in here. If you go to the next slide, please. And we see the other side of it, where that addition was, where that balcony is. Next slide, please. So, the proposed project also includes new paving materials in the driveway and the walkway, using going from concrete to a Belgard Catalina Grana paver in the Montecito color. That's not appropriate to the style period of the house, and staff recommends to keep the existing Hollywood driveway or replace it in kind. The proposal also includes addition to the existing garage, and that is to accommodate for the addition. It's going to require a 3-car garage, so they're going from a 2-car to a 3-car, and to minimize the visual impact, they're going to expand it straight towards the rear. They're also proposing a patio cover, a covered detached patio with the bathroom. Staff is currently working with the applicant to reduce the size so that it conforms to zoning code. And the project also includes a proposed new pool. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, do you mind going back to the last slide? Which doesn't conform to the zoning code, is it?
It's the patio.
A patio cover at the rear here.
Okay. I missed that, okay.
The issue is the square footage that it covers.
So it's currently at like approximately 540 square feet. They have to bring it down to 500 square feet. So we'll be working with the applicant to make sure. Next slide, please. So this is the existing first-story floor plan. It's about approximately 1,335 square feet. If you go to the next slide, please. Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
So in the shade of purple is where the extension is for the proposed addition will be. On the right side, you'll see the demolition plan, where the rear side is going to be demolished, including that laundry room. Next slide, please. So here we see the proposed floor plan. It's expanding the kitchen, the living room, family room, and creating a new play area. It's also creating a porch in the back that's going to be with the trellis cover. Next slide, please. So here we see the second floor plan. And the next slide, please. And that's the same where the addition is going to be. The addition is going to be in line with that, where that current laundry room that's extended on the first story will be. And if you go to the next slide, please. So here's a new second story. It also features a centered balcony that's a little bit projected out. Next slide, please. And so here we see the existing elevation. The character defining features that we mentioned earlier is presenting in the drawings. And if you go to the next slide, please, is the proposed. The proposed addition also the proposed project also includes changes to the front facade. That includes the covering of the decorative vents, enclosure of the balcony, and staff does not find that to be compatible, and staff recommends to keeping that features as existing. Next slide, please. One of the things that we work with the applicant on is trying to recess the walls on each end by approximately a foot. And if you go to the next slide, please.
The second floor in the lower picture. The new wall, as you see the outside, the existing corner of the back facade on each side, and then the addition steps in on each side.
So here in the plan view, we can see how the existing kind of, when the overlay with this proposed, how that recessed is. Next slide, please. So the east and west elevation, this is the existing, and if you go to the proposed, it's going to be extending out we'll see that recessed portion. The side with the portico is going to be visible from the public street. And next slide, please. Yes. So here is the existing garage. And it will be extending out to the back as explained earlier. And if you go to the next slide, please. This is the side view. The existing elevation doesn't match the existing conditions. If you look at the windows and how the roof is, staff is working with the applicants to make it more accurate to the existing conditions. But in the proposed, the extension will be straight to the back. It won't have any visual impacts from the street. Next slide, please. And here's the overall view from the perspective of the overall addition, the covered patio, the extension of the garage, and the pool. Next slide, please. For the materials, the applicant is proposing to restucco the entire house with a new stucco, and that's going to be smooth stucco in the eggshell color. They are not going to be replacing the whole roof, only to the new addition, so they're going to be keeping the S-tile roof and going to be matching the new addition with using the same material. For windows, the applicant is replacing all windows with aluminum-clad wood windows in the sightline gelled one in the bronze color. And for the pavers, you see here is what was mentioned earlier, as well as the sconces that they'll be using. Next slide, please. So as a recommendation of approval, staff has the following. For one, the enclosure of the second floor balcony and the removal of the existing decorative bench should be omitted from the proposal. Two, the proposed driveway and front walkway pavers are not appropriate to the style and the period of the house. The damaged Hollywood driveway should be either repaired or replaced in kind, and the existing front walkway is not original but can be retained due to the unobtrusive visual character. Three, provide additional information, including dimension drawings of the existing windows, especially the thickness of the muttons, for staff verifications regarding the closeness of the appearance, and the commission may also reconsider requiring that the wood windows at the front facade and side facades that are closer to the street be retained, and that the new windows be limited to the addition and less visible portion of the side facades. And four, staff will work with the applicant to reduce the size of the covered patio and detached bathroom for zoning code compliance. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Before we move on to public comments and whatnot, does anyone have any direct specific questions for our case planner?
I have a general question. The contributing properties in historic districts, is it a 360 view or is it just a street view in terms of what's visible in?
So it's public right of way.
So it's not like a registered property. That's
Let me
360.
jump in there.
Please.
You're acting as a design review body as well as the Historic Preservation Commission. So in terms of regulating character-defining features of the house and the overall appearance from the street, you're thinking about the Historic District Design Guidelines and the historic features themselves. But as a design review authority, you have the power that DRB has to address the 360 issues of the property, but not so much in terms of the historic appropriateness of the addition, but the presence, the massing, the scale, the different aspects that any new construction has in a neighborhood, basically.
Go ahead. We'll go left to right this time. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't realize you had your hand up.
That's okay. So the garage, can you remind, there were some obscurities in the plans, things got a little muddled and it was hard to read certain things. What's the setback from the corner of the garage? Is that within?
So garages are by code exempt from setbacks,
Even the addition.
even the addition.
Really?
Yes.
Is that new?
Oh,
Or,
no, detached garages can be built on the property line.
I knew that they could be. I didn't know that they could be now. And also, I know that there was a proposed state law that would have eliminated requiring additional parking when even single-family houses are added onto or remodeled. Did that pass?
Well,
Do you
there's
know?
AB 2097, if that's what you're thinking of.
No, I believe it's for what's going before the council.
No, this is a state law.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, if it's, you have to be within a half mile of a major transit stop for
Okay.
that to be invoked. I don't think we're there
I
in
don't
this
think so.
location, yeah.
okay, sorry, for some reason I thought it was more universal than that, and I meant to check and then I just forgot. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Doom.
Thank you, Eric. The first floor changes, is there any staff recommendations on anything for the first floor?
In terms of the addition, no.
No, okay. So for the
The
second,
windows, we have the comment about the general window comment, so.
for the second floor, could you bring up your first recommendation? The enclosure of the second floor balcony should be omitted, if I read that sentence correctly.
Yes.
Right.
Why?
The proposed, we believe that this was originally an open balcony. We also look at the Secretary of the Interior standards as we do this kind of review. We don't create features that were not in place historically. That's why that's the staff recommendation. HPC is not bound by that, by code. If you thought that this was an appropriate transformation of a formerly open balcony to an enclosed balcony, that's your prerogative. One thing to know, I don't think that that roof is original to the balcony. I think it was an open balcony originally. It's, if we go back to the photos, there's a lot of awkwardness in the top photo here. You can see, and let me try to get a better view. Just the stucco ceiling, the stucco kind of return on the wedge going back toward the house, the placement of the columns with some of them being pilasters and only one real column, the interface between the two historic roofs and this roof all tell me that that's an addition. But it's an addition that has been in place for some time. It's an addition that was there when the district was designated, and it was still determined to be a contributing property with this probably altered feature. So there's no reason to say to get rid of it. And since it's there, that gives you the opportunity to think, is the enclosure appropriate or not? So,
And the addition was permitted and approved in 1977, all legit?
Yes.
Wow.
those are the rear, yeah.
Yeah. Normally those additions weren't,
No, you're right.
it's unusual to be a permitted addition like that in the 70s. All right, thank you.
I have another question.
Go for it.
I wasn't sure if there was a scale issue with the renderings, but I did want to ask about the facade, the sort of enclosure at the front door, the height of that wall. Was that going to change?
No, that is to remain.
Yeah, I think it's worth asking the applicant or the architect about that. I don't think they're planning to change it. I think it's hard looking at the drawing. It may be a little off, so.
Okay. Thank you.
And I should note that the cover over the first floor, the entry court area, is definitely not an original feature. That part I've determined 100%, so. But again, it was there when the neighborhood was designated.
Eric? The north property line with the neighbor to the north, is there anything in the design for any type of boundary wall or any fence going in there along the north side? Like behind the pool, basically?
No, but let me see.
Let's go, which way to the site plan? This way? There we go. Whatever's there is to remain, is that it?
Right, we can get a clarification with the applicant, but based on the plan, all those fences were to be to remain. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, go for it.
Thank you. I know that in the letters, there were some concerns about the tile on the roof. Is the tile a replacement that's there now?
Yes, this is replacement S-tile. It was
Yeah.
there again at the time of designation. There was one incorrect thing in one of the letters. S-tile did exist way back when, goes way, way back, but it was definitely something that existed in the 20s. We don't see it that often. We did see it on one property in Ross Moyne a few years ago that you considered an addition that ended up not going anywhere. But we wouldn't typically ask someone to replace the entire roof. And so the drawings were originally a little more inconsistent. I think they've been corrected since then. So the idea was just to make sure that whatever's on the addition matches what's on the front part of the house.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing in a moment. I did see some new faces come into the chambers. If there's anybody that wants to speak on this item, we just ask that you fill out a blue card over near the doors and pass that over to Jay, and who's sitting over there, and he'll pass it to us, and we'll give you all the opportunity to speak. So far, I have 3. It looks like we might have a couple more, so I'm going to open the public hearing.
And before you do that, since we don't have any callers yet, but we may get callers, if you want to establish speaker times for the applicant gets more time than the other
Yeah.
speakers.
Okay.
but-
So I've got a card from the applicant and from the designer, the architect. Do either of you have a preference on who goes first? Okay, so why don't we have Edgar, you can come up first. You're the designer, and you can have 5 minutes. Is that enough, do you think? Okay, come on up.
And who's showing the PowerPoint? You or?
Oh, you have a
No, no,
PowerPoint.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
Okay.
You'll be doing the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. If you don't mind just stating your name for us.
Good evening, my name is Edgar Markosian.
Hi, Edgar.
Hi. So, my response is to the balcony, the front balcony that we were trying to enclose. First of all, since it does not meet the design, not the requirement, but the elements of the style, and it's there. And the balcony railing, it's already 32 inches, so it's pretty unsafe. So the other remedy that the board was telling us to do is put a railing on top to get the height limit to basically meet the requirement, make it safer. But when we did that visually, it did not look much better, and the space becomes like useless. So the better solution for that was to enclose it and create like a sunroom or maybe like an office space that could be used, like utilized better than just having like almost half balcony. So that was one of the comments. And then for the height of the entry porch, the wall, that actually, the wall is that high. It just, when you look at the pictures of the street view, the plants are high enough that it disrupts the scale, so you can't see really the actual height. So that is correct. And then the next thing was about the pavers. So there is actually no comments about, like, no guidance in the design guideline of the Spanish style or any style that addresses the driveway. And we try to use like period matching because of that, in that period, historic periods, like Spanish style houses, because this is Spanish revival, right? So in the old world, they used the cobblestones for the pavers, right? So we're trying to mimic that, but we're trying to also match the color with the exterior of the house, which will, complement the entire site rather than having concrete there, because the actual driveway, can we go on the driveway at the front facade?
Sure. Oops, there you go.
Yes,
Is that good?
that. So, first issue with this is we have concrete paver and there's a tree growing next to it, which cracks it. With the pavers, it's easy to replace, easy to fix. That's the technical view of it, but as far as aesthetics, repairing this particular driveway, personally, me, I don't see it as fit with this design style. That's it.
Thank you, Edgar.
Thank you.
Okay. Lermont, you ready? Do you need more than 5 minutes, do you think? You can take as much time as you need.
Probably more like 10 to 15 minutes, if that's okay.
You have a presentation, so
Yeah,
just
I do have a
for it.
presentation. and
Are we giving
I
them
will-
10 or
we can
15?
do 10.
I will cover as
Get as
throughout
much
my
as you can in 10. If
presentation.
you're close, we'll help you.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Jay, Eric. Good evening, all. My name is Lermont Akopian. If you may start the PowerPoint presentation, Eric, I can start presenting.
I hope we can.
It is a large file.
Yeah. We'll make it work. I'm not as good with PDFs. How do I enlarge this? You know?
Yeah, close
Well,
the
we'll
all
give you some
tools.
credit for time, so. Okay, thank you. This is why we hire young
Okay.
people these days. So.
Thank you, Eric. That is my lovely home. First and foremost, I should say that I have a growing family, and my intent is for a forever home. I have a 2-year-old, and my wife is pregnant, and we're expecting a boy soon. Thank you, thank you. Wow. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Sorry, hold on.
So my name is Lermont Akopian. I've been a resident of Glendale for over 30 years. I've actually grown up in the Ross Moines neighborhood. I'm here today seeking staff support to change all my windows. Actually, I'll be requesting fiberglass versus aluminum clad because I believe because of the measurements and the sizing, that's a better alternative to mimic the look. Also, convert my front balcony into a sunroom, redo the driveway and pathways with pavers. I want to mention that I admire all the historical characters and elements of the charming Spanish colonial revival homes of Glendale, truly known as the Jewel City. However, I believe there's an opportunity for thoughtful enhancements, such as the balcony to sunroof conversion, window replacement, and pavers. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments are much appreciated. Next slide, please. So here's an image I think you guys saw earlier of what my current house looks like and what we are proposing. Next slide, please. My issue with concerning the existing windows is that they are not energy efficient. They're single pane windows and lack weatherproofing, allowing sunlight directly into the front-facing bedrooms and living rooms. I have the noise issue concern. As we all know, Ross Moines is a busy road with cars driving uphill, some of them with loud exhaust sounds. And I have my daughter's room that's also front-facing, and those windows fail to mitigate traffic and car noise. Another issue is the safety concern. Those old inward front opening casement windows pose a safety risk compared to the alternative options due to the because of the newer features have the cranking handles versus the old clasp that any child can just push open and get out. Maintenance challenges, it becomes costly repairing and maintaining because the old windows suffer from termite damage, paint peeling, and just constantly going to be refurbishing those windows. In the Ross Moines district, in fact, I've noticed many of the homes have upgraded windows to fiberglass and even vinyl. For a solution, if you may please consider premium quality fiberglass replacement windows that closely match the existing ones, featuring the same simulated divide lights, colonial grills, and identical size. Ensuring uniformity and energy efficiency, these double pane windows provide long-lasting durability and maintain curb appeal. Next slide, please. As for the balcony to sunroom, to maintain the integrity of the original design while addressing the balcony's current issue, its low-hanging roof and 32-inch wall height poses safety hazards and contributes to a claustrophobic and dimly lit space. My vision is truly to turn this place and transform it into a sun-filled reading nook that not only increases functionality and living space, but also improves curb appeal to aesthetically pleasing and historical compatible modifications. By introducing windows, we will preserve that Spanish architectural character. We'll also offer a more engaging street view, enhancing privacy, and it'll be a usable space all year round. This change would address my noise concern. It'll be better insulated, making the space safer, more energy efficient, and maintenance-free. The choice of the windows support these goals, offering durability and a visibility appealing design. Next slide, please. So here's some images of the balcony, and I have the measurements of the 32-inch height. Next slide, next photo, or I'm sorry. Can you go back one slide?
Hopefully.
There you go. And these are pictures from my bedroom and the other front-facing, which will be my daughter's room, with the old traditional inward opening casement windows. There we go. Next slide, please. In fact, I've surveyed the area, and less than half a mile of my house, I found 5 Spanish-style homes with a true sunroom window design that I think is within character. Some of these homes were even in the Bellahurst and Ross Moines district. Next slide, please. Here's a prime example of one, 1209 North Cedar Street. This one here seems to be original, very relatively similar to what I'm proposing. Is what appears to be a sunroom with multiple original windows, and it's within the style and element of the Spanish character. Next slide, please. This is a closer look, just to show you what the house looks like with the sunroom. Next slide, please. Here's another one. Actually, this one was an open house. I was able to go inside. Here's one on 1164 North Howard. Next slide, please. Here is inside, and as you can see, a prime example. I got lucky going inside. Next slide, please. Here's another one on Mountain Street, right across from the Nibley Park. Next slide will show you closer pictures. Next slide, please. Here's another one, a few streets down on Dryden Street. Next slide, please. Here's a closer image, which appears to be maybe fiberglass or even aluminum windows. Next slide, please. Here's the one on Kavanagh Road. This one's even more elongated, has complete street city view, and it seems to be original as well and within the character. Next slide, please. Here's some close-ups. Next slide, please. Regarding the driveway and pathways to pavers, my neighbor next to me has a row of trees that run parallel to my driveway, and that is why my existing driveway has cracked, and I'm concerned that redoing it with concrete, it'll damage once more. Using concrete for hardscaping may hinder the water drainage and harm the roots of the trees and surrounding landscaping. Pavers, on the other hand, facilitate water drainage through their structure, directing it into the open graded bases and eventually into the soil, unlike concrete, which diverts water away. Concrete driveways and pathways with brick, clay, tile, and cobblestone pavers are common styles for Spanish colonial revival homes. To be true to style and time, pavers were used in the old days. In fact, I've surveyed also the Ross Moines Historic District area and found over 30 homes with various types of hardscaping. Next slide, please. Here's a few on Ethel. As you can see, numerous designs, shapes, and colors. Next slide, please. Here's a few more on Ethel. Next slide, please. Sorry, this might be redundant and boring, but we'll try to go through. We're almost done. Here's a few pathways, some with the, I believe that's the traditional clay tile and pavers. Next slide, please. Here's a few on Ethel, existing pavers. Next style, please. Here's one more of the Spanish modern look, and then here's another one with, I believe, cobblestone, could be. Next slide, please. There's a few more on Ethel and Mountain. This one has, I guess, a stamped concrete. Next slide, please. Here's a few more on Mountain. Next slide, please. Here's one that's got the traditional herringbone brick. Another one, again, with the clay tile on Mountain. Next slide, please. There's a few more on Mountain, different designs. Next slide, please. I think we're done with Mountain. Next slide. Sorry, guys.
Good tour.
Okay, now we're off to Ross Moyne. Ross Moyne, right on my street, there's at least a handful of houses as well that
Another
have.
30 seconds.
I'm almost done.
It's
Next
okay.
slide.
He's good.
Okay,
By the
yeah.
time you got it started.
I've got like
I
4
know.
more slides, I promise.
right, we're-
It gets funner at the end. Next slide, please. Here's a few more on Ross Moyne Avenue. Different design, shapes, material, color. Next slide, please. Here's additional ones right up a few streets up. You know, truthfully, I think I was only able to find, next slide, please, probably 2 or 3 Hollywood driveways. Here's a few more. Next slide, please. There's the last ones. There's one in Moncado. It's actually for sale now, if anybody's interested to come to the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Here's an ironic one. My address is 1239. This is 1321 Ross Moyne, and I was able to find a old picture, a historic picture of what the house used to have, what appears to be front stockwood wall in the front that has been completely removed and replaced with iron railings. They've added tile pathway to the front landscaping that didn't exist. The Hollywood driveway was filled with concrete, as you can see, and there was a second-story addition to the garage. So there's a lot of unoriginal features that was allowed just a street up to my house. Next slide, please. And just a little history of Ross Moyne. Here's what Ross Moyne used to look like. The picture on the right upper corner is actually a picture from across the street neighbor. I wish they had a wide zoom camera. Maybe they could have captured my lot. Below is Nibley Park and just an overall. Last slide, please. So in conclusion, Spanish colonial revival homes often have smooth finish exteriors, terracotta clay, red clay roof tiles, arched doorways, and decorative features. We're committed to preserving all these elements and details, including the existing front door, sconce lighting, Juliet balcony, porte cochere. Did I say that right, Jay?
Sounds amazing.
Wooden gates, ironwork, and wood-turned spindles on the front small window. My suggestion for the windows, the sunroom, and driveway pathways improvements prioritize functionality, safety, and maintaining consistency with the homes in the historic neighborhood. I look forward to your guidance and approval to proceed with this project that holds great personal and community value. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good job. Very well presented.
Thank you.
Before you walk away, may I ask a question regarding the windows?
Absolutely.
So you're asking to change the material, but also the way that they open and close. Is that right? Right now they open inward, and you want to change them to open outward?
I've inquired, all of the aluminum ones nowadays, they've opened outward with the crank system, yeah.
Got it.
It's, I'm sorry, my apologies, fiberglass, yes.
Fiberglass.
Correct,
Does. Okay.
they open.
Okay.
It's not more so the direction, it's,
Well, the direction's what's important to us, unfortunately.
oh, I see.
That's why I asked.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions for our homeowner while we have him? No?
Just
Mr. Doom.
one question. How long have you lived at this house?
We just worked our way to purchase this house just back in November.
Just November, okay.
Yes.
And the previous owner, how long, did they own it since,
They
just out of
were,
curiosity?
they
The
were, I
Additional,
want to say, they may have been the second owner, if I recall.
they owned it since the 70s with the first, with the
Yes,
addition?
her husband did, that had pulled the permits and did the addition.
Okay.
They did the addition.
What do you find in the front balcony unsafe?
The fact that
Since it's been there forever, I'm just curious.
the owners were much older, I have a growing family, the fact that my kid can just open the door, get in there, and if it's gonna be utilized as a balcony, it's not even up to code at 32 inch.
That's the height of the wall.
The height of the wall is
Right.
not even meeting the standards.
Okay, I want to hear you say that. All right.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Doom.
Thank you.
Any other questions,
Any
Commissioners?
other questions for our homeowner? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the remainder of our speakers, I have 4 cards. We're going to give everyone, please, 3 minutes. Steve Shintaku. Sorry, didn't put my glasses on. Steve, thank
right.
you. If you don't
Steve-
mind just stating your name for us.
Steve Shintaku. I live at 1244 Carmen Drive, so I'm actually right behind the property of their backyard. Been there for just over 26 years. It's a quiet neighborhood, it's a lovely neighborhood, and I haven't seen hardly any changes dramatically made within my block anywhere in the surrounding areas. And that was great. I mean, I thought that once the city or a group of individuals wanted to make Ross Moines District a historic district, I thought that's the best way to preserve the neighborhood. So we don't see a lot of renovations, we don't see a lot of code violations that do happen in our surrounding neighborhoods, even on the street that I live at. I mean, there are people that are making changes to their homes that go uncoded. And, you know, I'm not gonna cough it up and confess and say, hey, he did something, he didn't, whatever else, but it happens. And I think what appalls me the most is I walk by this house every day, because I walk my dog by here every day, and I always comment to myself how nice that house is. I mean, it's a charming house, it's unique, there's no other house like that in the whole area. And to see it be changed, it just, to me, I find that appalling. Everything that you can see in the back, right now off the street, you know, we've got the markers, we got the flags that he's marked out there, which I appreciate that he did. So it gives everyone a perspective as to what the anticipated changes are. It's all visible from the street. And I thought that that was one of the main criteria about being a historic district, is that you can't see those, you shouldn't be able to see those kinds of things. So I was concerned about that. I wanted to make reservations to my house, but my contractors told me these kind of things exist. And yet, I don't actually live in Ross Moines Historic, but again, I'm butt up behind him, so I know what it's like. So having, you know, conformed to these things and kind of shy away from making changes, it just appalls me to see that someone can come in and make those kind of changes, knowing that they're buying into a historic district and still wanting to make these kinds of changes. You know, I think it's great that you're a growing family and you want to grow into a existing 4-bedroom house and make it to 5, 6. I don't know what you know, I don't know what the intentions might be, okay? Future owners of the house, we don't know how long they're gonna be there. Who knows what's gonna go on within the house unnoticed? Maybe those additions are gonna be walled off and they're gonna make 6 bedrooms out of the property. Behind the garage, I noticed that there's another back door back there in the renderings. So even though it's called a 3-car garage, who's to say that someone can't go in there, put up a wall, and make an ADU in the back and behind the garage? I mean, when's it gonna end? And so again, another concern I have is how many people are gonna be living in this place, not with this family, but even another family or you know, beyond that. And hopefully I'm gonna still be alive enough to live there and see all these changes, but I just hate to see a quiet community change. I hate to see other investors come in and do same thing to the historic district and just radically change it.
That's your
Okay.
time. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks.
Benjamin.
Can I start by saying hello? I'm Ben. What's your name, sir? Lermonte. Nice to meet you. We may have some differing opinions, but I genuinely hope that we will be friends as the years roll on. We are your neighbors. Congratulations on the baby. I wish you puppies as well. I hope they will be coming. I will try and be brief. We'll also try and speak slowly. I'm a very nervous public speaker.
Okay. If you don't mind, please just stating your full name for us.
Yes, my name is Benjamin Sato.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this public hearing. My name is Benjamin Sato, and my wife and I have been homeowners in the historic Ross Moines neighborhood for 6 years now. Before tonight, I didn't realize we would meet this evening. I hadn't had the pleasure of meeting the new owners of 1239 Ross Moines Avenue yet, but I would like to welcome them to the block. I didn't know you were from the neighborhood growing up, so I was going to welcome you to the neighborhood, but I'm thrilled that you're a longtime resident.
Just do me a favor and try to speak close to the mic as much as possible.
Sure,
You're
absolutely.
being broadcast all over the world, so we want everyone to hear you.
That
Don't be
won't make me
nervous.
any further nervous, I'm sure. You've chosen one of the loveliest neighborhoods in Southern California to call home. Your neighbors are here for you, whether you need someone to bring your cans in while you're on vacation or walk your dog when you're running late to an appointment, or get a recommendation for the best kebabs in town, but you probably already know it's Mini Kebab. Our particular neighborhood has valued its unique architecture and maintained continuity of its aesthetic integrity for nearly 100 years, proudly. Ross Moines is the Los Angeles that doesn't exist anymore. It's the pragmatically aspirational Los Angeles of TV and the movies. It's green, it's hilly, and it's intact, as very few neighborhoods are. From its earliest days, living in Ross Moines has been the American dream. Not a rags to riches fantasy, but an attainable, upper middle class, hardworking neighborhood of charming homes. Homes here are restored and loved for what they are. They may be dark, they may be drafty, they may be dusty. They represent the last wave of true craftsmanship in home building before the start of the pre-designed catalog homes that began to permeate all reaches of America as we approach the Second World War. Miraculously, Ross Moines has largely avoided the plastic surgery of unsympathetic renovations and McMansionization that has disfigured so many neighborhoods. Drive through Burbank, Los Angeles, Hollywood, and even large swaths of Glendale have not been spared. 1239 Ross Moines Avenue is a lovely home as it is. By any Western standard of living, at its current size of 2,400 square feet of living space, it's an impressive home. Appropriate in scale for its section of plots in the neighborhood and fitting for a contemporary family. I would urge our Historic Preservation Commission and our new neighbors to consider a few lines of thought when reviewing the proposed plan shared via this evening's public hearing packet. And thank you for producing it. It was very helpful. So I would encourage you to consider that any material changes to a home in this neighborhood can impact the charm of every other home in the neighborhood, the experience of living in the neighborhood, and the value of every other home in the neighborhood. Resizing of homes, which invariably is increasing their footprint, leads to consuming more water and power, both of which are tenuous resources across LA County. Although our reservoirs are transactionally full at the moment, our aquifers remain largely depleted. Glendale's power grid is in need of serious upgrades, as we all know, and power outages are already far too common without the strain that bigger houses demand. Although aspirational, Ross Moines is still attainable for young families who are rapidly running, and I'll be quick, I promise. Although aspirational, Ross Moines is still attainable for young families who are rapidly running out of options to raise a family. Homes in the neighborhood are already priced at minimum well over $1 million. After an unprecedented decade of historically low interest rates, followed by a multi-year period of strong inflation, Ross Moines is at risk of becoming yet another community only for the wealthy. Do we want Ross Moines to become another Bel Air or Brentwood or Beverly Hills, where everyone has to be a CEO or crypto titan, a celebrity, or the recipient of a multi-generational financial windfall to sustain a mortgage? Aren't $1 to $2 million homes enough of a stretch? Do we really want to encourage conversion to $3 or $4 or $5 million homes that our own kids, friends, and families can't afford? Lastly, I urge our new neighbors in the Historic Preservation Commission to consider the impact of those most directly adjacent to 1239 Ross Moines. The house to the immediate south is owned by the Phillips, who have resided in their home for decades. The current plan shows a further crowding of the property line with a doubling of the length of the garage and a change to the view of the sky. The home to the immediate north is owned by a couple who've resided in their home for 50 years. The current plan shows the north property boundary intends to be joined by a pool and a spa, bringing plenty of noise, mechanical equipment, and lighting up right up to the edge of their property. Beyond this, the home back-to-back with 1239 is owned by the Shintaku family on Carmen Drive. Should they have to endure an outdoor bathroom being built up against their property line? I have no doubt the plans have been toiled over by their designer, and our new neighbors are excited about the possibility. But the concept pushes all activities to the property lines. The garage extension, the bathroom, and patio picnic area, the pool and spa, are all pushed to the edges of the property as far away from 1239's own residents and right up against their neighbors' homes. In addition to the request to approve modifications to the front and side elevations visible from the street, several homes immediately surrounding the property or within the view of the property will see a change in their neighborhood. I humbly submit the currently identified plans represent a significant change in precedent for unwinding Ross Moines' character. Not that they're not sympathetic, but they are a major change. I don't assign that as being the intent. However, I do assess that it is the reality of the current plans, that if the current plans are approved, I would encourage the homeowner and commission to consider a couple of things. Number one, scale down the impact. And if there is care for our neighbors, then to replan and push any material changes inward towards the main residence, rear western face, and away from the view of the street and adjacent properties. Bring your changes in, don't push them out to everybody else. Again, I'm not suggesting that was the intent, but that's kind of how they lay out. As just a couple of examples that could help, why not have the patio attached to the rear of the house as would be historically fitting? Why not move the planned pool to the center of the yard and excise the freestanding bathroom? Is such a large garage needed? I hope my thoughts are considered by both the commission and our new neighbors at 1239 Ross Moyne. Regardless of the final decisioning, I appreciate the forum, the opportunity to contribute, and I genuinely hope I have new friends and new children to look forward to meeting. You seem like lovely people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Thanks. That's all. I'm sorry, I know I ran
It's okay.
significantly
You
over.
had prepared remarks, so I was willing to let it go. Next up, Kipley Brown. One sec. You look like you have prepared remarks as well.
Just one page.
Okay.
But
If-
did someone have a question?
No, we'll get to him
Oh.
next. If you don't mind just stating your name.
Question before I
Yes.
start. I have a quick
Yes.
question. Hi. Good to see you again. Wasn't there also in your plans a guest house that you were proposing? Okay, got that
Great.
wrong.
Okay.
Never mind.
Go for it.
Basically, I'm sorry, I'm Kipley Brown, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Emo, waving at you. I have two concerns. One is less, well, I'll just talk. With the changes being made in the backyard, and this is when I thought there was going to be a guest house as well, I thought that there will be a lot of loss of green space, which absorbs sound in exchange for pavement or concrete or whatever it is, which refracts sound. So that's it's possible that there could be a lot of noise coming over the fence. I don't know if that's. My primary concern is this. We're especially concerned about the proposed second-story addition. After it's finished, its windows will have a direct view of our upstairs bedroom. It will also provide an uninterrupted view into much of our backyard and patio, and we consider this distressing outright, but all the more so when considering the negative effect it will have on the value of our property. Fortunately, a degree of privacy can be maintained by a line of trees on our side of the fence, which run along the property line. Our arborist has informed us that they are called Australian brush cherry trees. Very fancy. These trees were here when we moved in 2 decades ago, and we've maintained them and grown to love and depend on them for the privacy and shade they afford us. Some parts of the tree trunks may partially cross over into Mr. Akopian. Is that how you say it? Akopian? Mr. Akopian's property, which would make them shared trees. But whether they are on our land or Larry's land, he told us we could call him Larry, so I'm getting very casual here. Whether they're on his or land or our land, they are currently at a height that is a degree of fullness that affords adequate privacy. So really, those trees make our backyard cozy, secluded, it's an oasis, and losing them would make us feel like we're naked or bare under a microscope. So really, we're not asking you guys to do anything. It's just we are asking that if the council decides to approve the second-story addition, it be conditional on the trees being left in place. Although they don't actually interfere with any of the additions. I know with the garage extension, there was some concern about overhang of the trees. And so we just would like it to be conditional that those trees be left in place and not chopped down along the property line. And lastly, I just want to say, welcome to the neighborhood after all that. Welcome to the neighborhood. And I wrote it better than I'm doing it. Welcome to the neighborhood. I sincerely want you guys to know that even I stating our concerns is in no way diminishes the welcome nor our desire to be good friends with you guys. And I hope you understand. It's just natural. We're human, you know. All right.
Thank you,
That's my
Kipley.
time.
Thank you. I do have one card here that doesn't have a name. So, and it's the only card left. Okay, come on up, sir. It's okay, I'll put it in for you.
Okay, Kashik Valyan. Nice to see all my neighbors and everything.
Can you say your name one more time for me?
No question. Just I'm interested. We backyard neighbors, so we know each other from first or second day.
Chief, would you please spell your last
Huh?
That's okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm just interested to see what kind of changes you will done, but with backyard, and pool, create another pool or put some fence, but I didn't see anything here in this or upgrade.
You wanna Go look at
Go
the
to the
site
yard.
plan?
Yeah, the site plan
Backyard,
to show what he's
any
looking at.
backyard changes?
Or maybe just that 3D rendering from over the top. That's kind of a good one.
Well, here's the site plan, or the 3D, I think is up here. There we go.
That gives you kind of an idea of what they're talking about.
Which one is your my backyard?
So this is looking from Ross Moyne.
Oh,
So-
from Rasmus,
so-
okay. So I hope, I think I listen and I see there's knowledgeable people doing upgrades to keep our old values for that property. Everybody doing upgrades, and when you're coming home, that's 100 years old home, it should be something to do it. But I believe they will do with all, everything to keep like historical one, build not too much outside, but inside that's fine. They have to do upgrades. So I think they will do a very good job, and will be quiet neighbors, because our neighbor is so quiet, we don't know each other even, okay? Thank you for listening.
very much.
Thank you very much for keeping that.
Just do me a favor and write your name on there. Okay, Larry, would you like to come back up?
Do you want to do the callers and finish?
Do we have callers?
We have no callers, but yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Neighbors, thank you for welcoming us. Just want to address some of your concerns. I do want to emphasize that I am not a fan of modern, and that's why we've trying to stick to the originality and keeping all the characters and elements. It's getting a more refreshed look. And your concern, Steve, about the 4-bedroom, that's still going to be the same size. It's just
Mike, please.
I plan to.
Thank you,
know,
Lermont.
Address us,
I
even though you're talking
plan to have a
Larry.
growing family and not a back house or ADU, because if those were my goals and intentions, I would apply for an ADU permit and actually build, and I could build up to a certain square footage and have an actual ADU if that was my intent. So that is one of the things that I want you to rest assured, that there will not be multiple, this is a single family dwelling, and I plan to keep it that way. As far as, I believe Benjamin's concerns about why the placement of the things are the way that they are, I want to mention that if you go back to the first slide, one of the reasons we actually fell in love with this house, me and my wife first saw this house, and I believe I've mentioned that to the Phillips family. One more slide back, or one more. I'm sorry.
That's the
There was,
first.
or go forward. Sorry. One of the images showed. There we go. You can see that beautiful, huge pecan tree that I'm planning on preserving. And had I had to dig out a pool, I would destroy the roots if I put the pool in the back. That's the reason why I've got the patio back there, and the reasoning for my pool being on the side. And that was one of the arguments with my wife. Why are we? I said, we're keeping this tree, and I want to. So, and another note about my wife, she goes to bed at 8 o'clock, literally. I sometimes come home late and we don't have dinner together. So just know that we are a very quiet family. We don't plan. So I hope that answers some of your questions. And then as far as regarding my neighbors, the Phillips to the west of me, I've met with Emo. We've talked about that we're going to make sure to save his tree, and I've actually spoken to his arborist as well. In fact, hence why my point is doing pavers and the roots of those concretes. So actually, I like that sideline of trees. Oh, and another thing, as for the, I hope we have better rendering to show the north left side of the house.
The right side?
So currently, if you go back, currently there's a bedroom window that's facing, And if you look at our addition proposal, we've actually eliminated windows for, and you're not going to have anything facing for your privacy as well. So actually, I've been considered, I've taken that into consideration as well. There is just a bathroom window, which is much smaller than what the existing bedroom window is. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to address and answer at a later time if we
you,
have
Larry.
time. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Jay, you mentioned there's no callers, right?
Still no callers, right?
Great. Okay. We did receive quite a few letters regarding the house, and I'm not going to go through and read them all. I'm just,
I was just going to suggest that I had submitted some in advance. You can.
okay, thank you. Thank you. So I'm not going to read them all, but I will summarize, and maybe my fellow commissioners can help me in case I miss anything, just some of the main points. It seems that several of the letters are concerned about the overall massing, the overall size of the addition. A couple people have mentioned, at least one mentioned the roof tile material, but I think we had a discussion about that already, that it never was barrel tile, right? Or at least it's not now.
Back in the day it was, but
Okay, but it's not
sometime
now.
was changed, yeah.
Okay. There definitely was concern about windows, window materials. Let's see, what else, guys? You help me out here. Am I missing anything? Oh, yeah, a lot about trees. There's a tree on the north. Actually, Larry, do you mind coming up for a second? There's a tree, an oak tree in the back, between your property and the north side property garage.
The Vin family, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's an oak tree there. There's another one, I think. There's one on the Divine side. Okay, yeah. Right, it's a big oak tree. So in terms of the fencing and everything, I asked before if there was an intention to change the fence at all on that property line side.
I've had some discussions with, and I wanted to, that would be the next step, if there would be open to what options I had, whether it'll be wood fencing, or there is actually an existing metal fencing that
Yeah.
runs all through the property. So if we were to replace it, would be something that would be similar to the Spanish style in character.
Do you think that that oak tree is your tree or the neighbor's tree?
Which, there is,
So there's one next.
there's two. There's
It's near
one
the
that's
property
at the,
line.
there's one that's right on the property line between my home and the house that's on the east side of me to the.
Chair, if I
Divine-
may.
Yes, Eric.
So,
Sorry, guys. I can't have you talking from the back. I'm sorry. Eric, did you have something to say about that?
so as part of the submitted plan, there was a survey plan that was submitted, and it does not show the oak tree on the property.
It does not show the oak tree on his property, so it must be the neighbor's tree.
Right.
Got it. Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you, Larry.
So what is the bottom line for
So,
this whole
sorry. I'm sorry. We can't take questions from the audience.
Just so the commission knows, we also, this may not have happened, but it should have, we also looked to see oak trees within 20 feet of the property line. If the Acopians ever in the future decide to change the fence, we would work with the city arborist to look at that area and see if some special construction technique needs to be used or not.
Okay.
So I believe, I think it's sheet A11 calls for a vinyl fence. And I don't know whether that's existing or,
Is this sheet A, is it the site plan or?
it said sheet A11. That's,
Yeah, sorry, we don't have those sheet numbers here.
oh.
But I do have it here.
All right, well, we'll continue moving. We're still in public hearing time, so let's just finish through these. That's okay. Okay, so I think that covers basically the main, anybody else have anything you think of that were the main things in people's letters? Okay, with that, we're going to close the public hearing, and we'll start with commissioner comments. Why don't we start from my right again? Mr. Doom.
Okay, all right. The use of pavers that was mentioned by your designer to resemble the old world cobblestone. As much as I would like to point out that all the other driveways are as you visited and pictured, we're concerned about your house, and the changes your house are making requires us to look at the historical nature of your house, and the changes have to be made to the historical standard, okay? And so with that in mind, the driveway has brick in the center, and the old-style driveways at that time period had grass in the center for the oil that dropped from the old car, that still dropped from cars. And the use of pavers for water drainage would actually encourage the very root development you are opposed to if the roots can still continue to grow. And my driveway is cracked. I repair it in the 25 years of my house twice. And it's just one of those natures of upkeeping a house. I know you have a choice of your tree next door or your driveway. And the use of retaining the original side of the driveway, in the past, we've had homes tear out existing pavers to replace the existing driveway. And then I'll stop there. I'll leave others to speak on other issues, and I'll come back. I don't steal all their thunder. My issues is with the pavers.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Yurka, would you like to go?
Okay. One thing I would like to say about this hearing and this project is, one, it was just lovely to see people remembering that after all is said and done, they will be neighbors, and they need to live together, and they want to get along, and I was very touched by that. And I also am impressed by your consideration of the neighbors regarding the bedroom window, the window that would look into their bedroom, because I know that that's a big issue that comes up at a lot of DRB meetings. We tend to not hear so much of that. And I think it's clear that you want to be really good stewards of this house. One thing that I was surprised about in reviewing the alterations and the DPR form for when the historic district was created is that this was given a high integrity rating, given that the stucco is not original. There's been that kind of, that low, strange roof added to the second story balcony. And then the first story, which would have been opened, has also been roofed in. So I think it should have gotten a moderate integrity and not.
If you want to comb all 500 DPR forms from Ross Moyne, you'll find some issues.
Yeah, okay.
It's not our
but
best survey.
Yeah, no, yeah. And, but one of the things that I think about as I review the plan, is insofar as it's the work you can see from the street, is that I worry that if the conditions are not imposed by staff, that the conditions proposed by staff are not enacted by us, that it may lose its status as a contributor. Because those include replacement of windows, paving materials, the infill of that balcony. Even though it's been altered, it still reads as a balcony. And so, I agree with my colleague about pavers. I think the Hollywood driveway is just such an attractive character-defining feature of the residence. Are you like, I want to say, that's hilarious. I've had those same conversations with, you learn where to pick your battles. And I do think that the Hollywood driveway, one thing that you could do is to remove the brick if you wanted to put in grass. But I do think that that is an important character-defining feature. And also, I just think pavers, I agree with what you're saying about pavers in Ross Moyne, and we see it in my neighborhood. I live in the Woodlands, and they drive me batty because they don't really fit into the look of these houses. I do feel strongly about maintaining original windows. And I do think that fiberglass new windows on the addition or from less prominent places from the street view would be okay, but windows are just such an essential feature of the wood windows, original wood windows of a Spanish of any historic property. And, you know, I understand the concerns about noise, but I mean, like, I live close to Cañada. Cañada is a busy street. You know, Ross Moyne, I'm sure that you do have cars on it, but it's not a drag race, you know? And also just in terms of energy efficiency, it's always good to keep original windows rather than throwing them away and replacing them with a different material. Like, there's different ways to measure energy efficiency. And there's the loss of, you know, there's just getting rid of functional windows. And I know that they may need some work, but there are people who specialize in repairing historic windows. And then the last one, the infill of the balcony, my preference would be to leave it open just because, again, the front facade is really the most important in terms of the historic district character. And I do think it is part of that character. But I will say that my strongest feelings are about the driveway and the wood windows. So, and I have other things to say about aspects of the project, but maybe we can, because these are subject to staff conditions, maybe it's good to stop there.
Okay. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I have some comments, and much of it echoes what's already been said. But I do want to mention that I really appreciate the neighborly aspects of everyone that's commented, and it is really nice to see. And I think it's great that you're openly sharing your concerns. And I also appreciate how you have addressed your neighbors' concerns. And as far as my particulars, I agree with what's been said about the pavers, and also about the balcony and the windows. And I really think it's important that those characteristics are, those features are maintained.
Thank you. So I think we're probably going to be having more discussion after this. Is that what you're thinking, right? Additional?
Oh, I think there,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just my first little highlights. Hi. So I am in agreement about the driveway. I actually would like to see those bricks removed and have the sort of grass parkway reinstalled there. Look, we can all drive through the neighborhood and see all these changes that have happened over time. I can promise you those pavers were not original. A lot of them may have been put into the district before the district was in place. People may have done it without a permit. You know, there's unfortunate things happen. So I can appreciate driving through the neighborhood and thinking, well, if they get to do it, I should get to do it. The unfortunate reality is because you're doing everything right, unfortunately, you're going to have to follow some rules that other people maybe didn't think they did. And even those enclosed balconies, those were not enclosed originally, those other balconies that you've seen. That's just not, it would have been a room. It just would have been a room. If it was enclosed originally, they wouldn't have built a balcony originally and enclosed it immediately, very likely. So they were all sleeping porches. That was a thing that was very popular in the day, and they were eventually people wanted to do what you're doing, which is just capture the space for more daily use. So seeing other examples of those things, I don't want you to think we're ignoring the fact that you saw those things. They're there, we know, but they're not really emblematic of the style historically. They're modifications people have made over the last 80 to 100 years at different times when rules were maybe different, but we live today with the rules that we have now. I echoed the concerns about the material for the windows. I'm more concerned about changing the way that they open and close. I think it's very important that they maintain the inward opening, as kind of frustrating as that is with furniture, and it can be kind of annoying. That is really a very character-defining feature of these older homes is the way that they operate. I appreciate how challenging original wood windows can be. Commissioner York is right. There are companies. It's usually less costly to restore them than it is to buy new windows. And so maybe if it's just in the front rooms, I could support that. I could also be open to hearing if newer windows could be made that still can function and open inward. But I would like to see as much as we can of the original. My question, Jay, is regarding the stucco, since it's not the original stucco. I didn't read closely in there what the stucco plan is. Is it to smooth it out? And if it is to smooth it out, is that what we think it was?
Well, it would have been smoother than it is now.
Yeah.
It would have been that
kind of
nice, smooth to the touch, but then gradually modulating over the surface. It's hard to find
Not
people
like fondant
doing
on a
that
cake.
kind of work.
but-
What's that?
Not like fondant on a cake, but more like.
Right, exactly. That's how I see it.
Just as delicious as
Yes.
fondant.
Yes. Okay.
The question, we had discussions with the owner. There are two ways to deal with stucco. One where you sandblast the existing stucco, you bring it down quarter inch or whatever it would be, and then you re-stucco over that. More typically these days, people are taking all of the stucco off. Ultimately, we don't care. We're kind of agnostic on that. But the neighborhood tends to freak out when they take all of the stucco off and we see a skeleton. So I asked the owner to just decide which direction they were going to go if you approve that. And then we would at least be able to field calls better than getting
But
the alarm
goal is
bells
not
ringing.
to do that super smooth, slick, modern.
Yeah, we
type.
don't want to see the
We don't
Venetian
want-
plaster, we don't want to see the super smooth. Unfortunately, stucco work is a dying art, as I understand it. I don't have any stucco people to refer people to. Usually when something's very hard to do, we like to have referrals. If anyone in the audience or on the dais or anywhere else knows who's doing stucco in the old school way, it would be great to know that. But we can certainly work with the owner and whoever the stucco contractor is to get a scope of work and a spec that tries to be as period appropriate as possible.
Okay.
But
And then-
even a super smooth would look better and be more appropriate than what's there now, so.
Okay. And then, just so everyone, in case they weren't paying attention or didn't know this, the extension of the garage is mandated because of the size of the house, correct? It has to be made bigger, right?
Yeah, once the house goes over 3,500 square feet, it needs a third space.
Got it. So that's why that's happening. It wasn't necessarily because they wanted
I
a
believe
bigger
that's
garage.
right. So, yeah.
Yeah, 3,500 has to have a three-car garage.
I just want to make sure that the house is going over, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's at 36, is that right?
That's
Something?
close, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so those are my just sort of general highlights. Do you want to maybe?
Oh, I forgot to mention the vents.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do agree that the
Yeah, the
vents
vents are
are very important as ornamentation for the facade. And Jay, I don't know who it is, but Greg Grammer and Simon, right? They found a fantastic stucco person who
Okay,
did
cool.
hand-troweled stucco at their place, so I would reach out to them.
And I'll also talk to Desiree because
Okay.
her place looks
Right.
great, so.
Okay. Are there any specific categories that anyone wants to cover that we didn't just cover? Maybe massing or the overall design of the rear portion, that kind of thing? Do you have comments about that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't we start back at the beginning?
Okay, thank you. I noticed staff brought up vents and the decorative vents. Any comments?
Yeah, we just talked about that. That's these.
Oh,
that we wanna
I
keep
was
them.
looking at the report. Okay, I was trying to find them for the,
Yes.
on page 16. Okay,
Yes.
no worries.
And it looks like they're appearing in their renderings. At
Can I,
least the
can
most
I
recent.
ask for a clarification or food for thought, I guess? On the driveway, if you look at the pictures that I have up right now, you've got the Hollywood driveway leading to the porte cochere, then you have concrete under the porte cochere, and then the concrete continues back toward the garage. There's a gate on this, it's a kind of a handsome-looking gate. I don't know if they intend to keep that closed more often than not. I don't know that it's original, but it looks pretty nice. If the applicants really want pavers, and if there's a thought, most pavers, we should just say out loud, aren't permeable. So that's kind of a myth that just because you have pavers, there's water trickling down into the ground. But regardless, if it's their aesthetic preference, you might want to consider the back part of the backyard part of the driveway, possibly having pavers, which I don't think we'd experience in a dramatic visual way from the street. But that's just offering a possible compromise for
Okay.
the owners.
Okay, we'll talk about that. What do you think?
Oh, I just, because I was surprised that the house was over 3,500 square feet, but it's proposed to be 3,501.
That's it. I thought I saw
So-
36 somewhere.
Well, it's easy to shave a foot off but there's no historic district concern for the expansion of the garage, so.
Right. No, but I was struck by the fact that it's triggering, that 2 square feet is triggering all of this extra building. So maybe something to think about.
Most people end up at 34,999.
Right, to
So
avoid.
this is
Here
unusual,
it says
yeah.
3603 on the report,
Well, it's.
unless you did some,
It says it's 2413, and they want 489 plus 599. So that's
think
what I got.
yeah.
Because this, maybe the bathroom?
There's
is
some that gets removed.
Okay, so
Right.
that's, no, the bathroom, because the, whatever it is, the deck, the
Oh, the patio. on the
accessory,
back.
the patio does not
Yeah,
count,
but
but the
the balcony
bathroom.
enclosure at the front does count toward floor
Oh.
square footage, so if that's eliminated, it might,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
that's
balance
right,
out.
that's interesting. So, yeah, okay, so that's one thing to think about.
I guess, yeah, they can think about that. If you don't want to, if you get under 3,500 square feet, you don't have to add that garage extension. You could save money by not having to extend the garage if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And I guess, can he still extend it if they're under 35?
Yeah, there's no reason,
Reason
we
they can't
wouldn't
make
have
it
a
bigger.
reason to say no. No, yes, we can't have accessory structures that aren't garages be over 500 square feet. And that's the issue with the patio cover. Plus, and there's the little bathroom counts as part of that. So it's about 600 as proposed, so we're going to shrink that down. So they would not be able to have as much of an addition if it weren't for the parking space.
Parking space, okay.
Okay. So as someone who, before I joined the commission, used to attend meetings a lot and speak my mind, I feel. I feel that it's important to respond to some of the additional comments that we received in letters or that we heard. I was very glad to hear that the owners are planning to keep the front door, and I wasn't doubting that, but since it was raised by neighbors, because that, again, is a very important character-defining feature. It is not an appropriate style of pool for a Spanish colonial revival from the 1920s, but that is not a concern of mine. I don't think that I used to argue about pools a lot when I was on that side, and just get over the pool, it's fine. Your pool is fine. And I think because we're talking about the rear of the house, even though, as Jay mentioned, we function as the DRB and we can talk about design elements, but I don't think we need to be as concerned about, we don't need to be as concerned about the historic character of the rear of the property, which is, I think the analysis that it's very symmetrical, that it's very different from the Spanish colonial revival, I think that's accurate, but I also don't see it as like a fatal flaw of the project. One concern that I did have, though, regarding the massing is that, and I don't know how my fellow commissioners will feel about this, but the 1 foot setback of the second story from the first story seems very trivial to me. It's like a dimple, not, it risks reading as a kind of wall going back, and it's visible on both sides. I'm getting my directions confused. The one that's not your side, the other one, there's landscaping that presently blocks it, but landscaping can change. And it occurs to me that it is a fairly large proposed addition, and the bringing it so far to the sides is a result of wanting it kind of hollow at the very rear. It's kind of built around a deck with a 2-story
or a patio with a two-story deck over it. And one alternative to that would be to fill it in a bit, and you could probably have the same square footage, but it would reduce its visibility from either street. And you would either have a smaller or maybe no patio and deck at the rear. I'm not sure how much people use those decks. We see them, but my sense is that people usually want to go outside. But it's just something to consider if my commissioners share the concern that you're turning the sides of this property into something that's more like a wall. So I just wanted to throw that.
Yeah, did you have, I totally get what you're saying, and so I'm curious, how much further in do you think is a threshold past which it wouldn't necessarily read that way?
Oh, God.
I mean, that's the hard part. We would have to
don't-
decide that.
Well,
If I
we
could
don't, in
jump
fact-
in, when we make the recommendation that people do that, I think a 1 foot is surprisingly effective in terms of protecting the corners, the sense of structure, the sense of the original volume of the property. We usually tell people to do 12 to 18 inches. Often they choose 12 instead of 18. I'm concerned, looking at the right-hand bedroom up there, which is now 9'10". If you look at the stairway, to push that wall in means the stairway has to move, and that's a pretty tight little hallway next to the stairway, and the stairway's not unusually wide. I think that would compress that room in particular. The other room has a little more space, although the closet on the left side could be smaller. That bathroom doesn't have a lot of fat on it, so I would think about that in terms of how it affects the interior, just usability, so.
Right, but it's also the case that the first floor is just a straight shot,
Yeah,
right?
we originally talked about moving the first floor in at the same time. We tend to kind of, we have a practical side to this that is beyond our preservation, my preservation side. Sometimes when you start asking for that, you're creating very strange notches in a room. You're creating windows that are offset, you're interrupting kind of sight lines and some properties we've been successful in where you have that notch, well, let's maybe put a closet or a bookshelf or something in that location. In this case, I don't know if I'm going to remember exactly what the issue was, because it does feel like there's a lot of space there as I'm looking at it now. But you might, if you want to reopen the hearing and ask about that. We also felt, especially on the left side of the house where the porte cochere is, the porte cochere kind of
It does mask it a
screens it
bit.
to some degree, and the other side isn't super visible as you get further back.
Well, maybe before we reopen the public hearing, or if we do that,
We'll just make a list
or
of
just
questions.
commissioners could weigh in
Yeah.
on whether they had the concern that.
Yeah,
that
so I
did.
mean, I get what you're saying, I do. I feel like, I almost feel like that would make it even more awkward, to push it in even more. I mean, there's gonna be a wall, and it's gonna be really long, and I'm concerned that if we push it in too far, then it's gonna kind of look a little bit forced, like we really, like unnaturally deep and inset, then it is almost distracting in a way. It looked, to me, it looked tasteful enough. So that's my thought. I wouldn't necessarily say pushing. I don't think we get that, it doesn't change it that much. It doesn't change it enough. It certainly doesn't make it disappear. And so I feel like my opinion is that it's maybe just not quite enough back to make a difference. And it might actually even just look a bit awkward, almost too narrow in a way. Those are my thoughts on that particular subject. Anyone else? Jeffrey? No? No opinion?
Oh, yes, I do have an opinion.
One more time. There you go.
I think it does read as a wall from the street. And I don't know what the solution is, because I understand both sides to this. I hadn't really thought about the impact to the interior. And I don't know what can be done about that. I'm open to suggestions and ideas about it.
One, if I can jump in again, it is a wall. It looks like a wall because it is a wall. We usually, when we have long walls like that, we ask designers to introduce a window or two. But here we understand that they're being conscious of neighbor privacy, which the commission seems like you appreciated. When we were thinking about it, we were like, it is pretty far back, but I don't see, especially on the Port Cochere side, some people don't like to have windows in their closet, but a lot of historic closets had small windows that punctuate the wall and break up the mass a little bit. That could be one solution on the bedroom on the left side. I'm not sure, whatever that's called. On the right side, it's just a privacy issue, but usually we'd like to see a wall not run that long without a window.
Mr. Doom, how do you feel about it? You know what we're talking about, right?
Yes, and unlike Jeffrey, I don't like it, but I understand the need for it.
You don't like what? That
Well-
it stepped in at all?
Yeah. But
You would prefer it be just flush? Mm-hmm. Okay.
again, my grandpa's a bricklayer, I'm used to
I
building
don't think that's
straight
Jeffrey's
walls.
view.
That's not your view?
No.
Oh, I thought you were open to, okay.
I'm open to suggestions. I don't have a good solution, just because it does read as a wall, but I also just, I'm not sure what can be done about that.
Yeah.
Well, there's no simple fix.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that's the issue, that it involves redesigning the rear of the house, perhaps with that kind of asymmetry of a Spanish colonial revival, or, but it involves getting rid of a central feature, I think, which would be that open patio.
I want to talk about the asymmetry of a Spanish colonial revival. Can we go to, Jay, the picture, one of the current pictures of the present backside?
Here you go.
Can you talk to us again about what is the addition that was done in the 70s?
Oh, yeah, you can, okay.
Well, maybe
it's-
not.
We'll
If
tell
it's
you.
a supposedly asymmetrical, what was there before?
I believe it's the little laundry hut.
Okay.
I believe it's the flat-roofed patio area, or at least part of that. And I'm not sure about the second story. That's addition to?
Yes.
Okay.
Was it fairly flat originally?
It's hard to say because they probably tore something down to
Possibly.
build this addition, so.
I mean, what I'm getting at is the back sides of these houses, from my experience, are not generally that asymmetrical. They're pretty flat. They're
They can be blunt, yeah.
They're just because it maximizes the use of the space, the backyard, and the design features are generally, the asymmetry exists generally in the front. So I know that there are some comments that were concerned that the back was no longer asymmetrical, but I think that's false asymmetry, or not original asymmetry that's there. So I don't really have a problem with the way the back looks now. I think it's as appropriate as anything. I will say I don't, from sort of an original character standpoint, that the size of the second floor balcony is a little big. I don't think that there would be something quite that large originally. I'm having a hard time visually, I don't feel like it would be.
No.
I think it's okay. I
If
just
I
don't.
can-
I think that's the only thing that feels more modern than anything else.
And then
you know?
this is the time you need to take off your preservation hat,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, because we're in the back.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, right. So we've got this 360 thing where you said we have a 360 thing. It doesn't necessarily relate to preservation. It just relates to the overall design. Is that right?
Most projects going to DRB these days have a deck that spans the entire width of the house, hundreds of square feet at the second floor that no one's ever going to use, but it's on almost every proposal now.
Okay. All right. So should we? Is that a note we want to talk to when we call them back up? I just want to make sure we're covering everything when we bring them back up. Is that something you wanted to specifically ask them? Well, you'll remember, right?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Related to any of the other points that people were making, it seems like you were kind of going through in your mind the.
Those were the main ones. Let's see, where's Lorna's letter?
So at least we're all in agreement on staff's conditions, correct? Is that pretty safe to say? Okay. And then are there any that we want, okay, so what is, instead of me digging it up, what exactly is staff's condition regarding the windows?
We are in flux right now as a staff about how to deal with windows in districts. I've expressed my angst about this many times over hearings. The commission on many recent projects where you've done design review has asked for the wood windows at the front and the close to the street sides to be retained and then get closely matching fiberglass or aluminum clad wood or whatever for the rest of the house. That's at odds with our long-standing policy to allow window replacements in districts. We are thinking about rolling that back a little to be more in keeping with HPC's direction on these other projects, because we're holding people to two different standards depending on how they're applying or the scope of their projects. We haven't made that official yet. This will freak out some people. I wouldn't be surprised if we get something that takes us to council at some point and we just see if there's a taste for protecting the wood windows. But that's the direction we're going. So we kind of split it both ways. Now, originally, when we reviewed this proposal and wrote the staff report, these were aluminum-clad wood windows which were proposed, which in general are a pretty good replacement for existing wood windows. I know they're not ideal, they're not perfect, but they can look, as you scan across, pretty close to what we've done. And we work to make sure that the dimensions are as close as possible and the mountain grid is as close to possible. This operation, from what I know you know a lot about this, Chris, from working with properties that you're dealing with. Most of the window people I deal with say it's really difficult to get inward swinging windows in the new kind of block installation that people are using. We, as staff, look to see what does it look like when the windows are closed and what does that look like. I'm, again, agnostic. If someone has in-swinging windows or out-swinging windows, I don't care, but I've had too many window people say we can't even do the in-swings. And then, like you said, a lot of people don't want them because they get in the way of furniture and all that.
They don't drain water as well. I mean, there's a couple of reasons why they're not great. The hinges are hard to find, and they're not great.
Yeah,
But,
and I think
okay.
some of the major manufacturers, I don't even think that's an option,
Okay,
so.
that was a question I had, so thank you for answering that. How does everybody feel about the function of the windows? Kathy, how do you feel about that, the way they function?
That's okay, they're original windows.
No, but what I mean is, are you okay with that? Because I think the present design, they would not pull in anymore, right?
You're talking about the
The
windows.
current windows
the
swing
new-
in, yeah.
The current winds swing in. If the commission, what you're suggesting is that there's the potential that we might want to consider allowing them to not have to keep the original wood windows because we're not forcing other people to do that. If we didn't,
Right.
we would also be giving up at that point the operational direction of the windows.
That's true,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I am not okay with replacing the wood windows.
Regardless of the,
Right.
having nothing to do
At
with the
the
function of them.
front
It's
and the
really,
immediate
Yes,
sides.
the
so.
front and the prominent sides.
it's basically basically all the original part of the house in a way at this point, right?
Yeah, I think there would be a few that might fall into the, that where we change out. Let's
I
look
bet
at
not.
it.
I mean, I bet it's pretty much every window.
Let's have a look. So we would keep the 4 on the side of the chimney. There are what I believe are 3 windows in the, well, actually, I'm not sure, because some windows are being closed, and that's something we didn't really discuss much, but generally on the sides, we haven't had a huge problem with that. And then on the other side, yeah, so I think you're right, there wouldn't be too many,
There
if
really
any.
wouldn't be many changing. It would all be new, original and new. It wouldn't
Right.
be any swap outs.
Right.
For the most part, it
Except
seems.
unless
Yeah.
there's one or
Okay.
2 that I'm not sure about.
Okay. And then, so then I guess the question is, for the new window, if we're going to require that the old original windows stay in, are you okay with everybody going fiberglass, or do we want to stick with the aluminum clad?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, you have approved fiberglass before, so.
Okay.
And even some fiberglass windows, we can get relatively decent comparative looks between the old and the new.
Okay. Kathy?
Are you going to bring the?
Oh, do you want me to bring them? I wasn't about to be done. I was
no,
gonna
I'm sorry.
continue.
Yes, okay.
Just kind of going through the list of staff's conditions to make sure we were all still on. And so the interpretation of the windows is
Just for time, I'm going to start my tally. We're pretty much in, everyone agrees about keeping the wood windows at the front?
yes,
Okay,
and the sides.
right, yeah.
Okay. Well, at this point, let's bring them up. Do you want the designer or the homeowner?
Well, just for the sake of time, again, we have a little small laundry list of things, which isn't huge, if we just make sure that you can ask them all the questions about each of those items instead of potentially back and forth.
Talking about the conditions.
Yeah, so the pavers, what else? I don't know. The stucco, I think we're good. The vents, I think you all agree about. The back stuff we're going to take care of. The 1 foot recess. I'm not sure if you all are on the back.
Something you wanted to talk to the homeowner about?
Not really, unless there's consensus among the commission that that's an issue. It sounds like you found the 1 foot.
Yeah, for me,
appropriate.
I think it's satisfactory.
Okay. If the commission wants to move forward with the size, with the uniformity of the kind of wall on either side, I could support the project, especially because we've incorporated the other staff conditions. I do want to acknowledge, though, the concerns from people here tonight about the size. Like, this is you can see whenever you look at the story poles, it is a very large and prominent addition. I mean, it's going to impact the street less, but it will impact neighbors, I think. And I sort of share your concern about what happens when houses just start to get really big. I mean, this will be the largest house within the 300 square foot radius. So the issue that I would like to raise just in future, since if we can think about this as a commission, is really when additions are proposed, to try to have them not as a wall, but to have them recessed so that they read as separate.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
There's an addition at the first floor
Right.
that is one long wall. Just try to recess that.
Oh, you're
and not
talking about
just-
the first floor?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I didn't catch.
In addition to, so I'm just thinking, because the reason it's difficult to change things is because they have plans, right? But if we can encourage staff to kind of work.
Oh, and
with
we
applicants.
have definitely done that. So
Yeah.
that's, this kind of notching recess for a rear addition, super 100% common thing for us to
Yeah.
do, even on things that are exempt that you don't even see.
Right.
This one we did give thought to, and we worked with the applicant. And on the Port Cochere side, we were like, it's kind of
Yeah.
a fussy detail that no one's going to notice.
Okay.
And why would we ask them to sacrifice their goals unless we were going to get a public benefit from it? On the other side, I think it's also has such limited visibility. And even if we did notch that in, if we're still talking about a very large addition. In general, we take some of our cues in that issue from the DRB, where this is allowed by right as a potential envelope, but DRB and you as a design review authority are within your right to shrink down a project if you think the massing is having an impact on the neighbors. Most of the neighbors who've spoken here tonight, and we didn't get any, some of the letters were written by people who aren't immediately affected by this addition, and some of the neighbors here, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I get the sense that it's more in the details rather than the fact that it's an X square footage, because a lot of people just have a knee-jerk reaction to the size of a property being bigger than what's in the neighborhood. So,
I think so, because when the DRB considers the size of a project and they're looking at, and its impact on neighbors, they're looking at a set of specific guidelines that I don't think are the case
here.
Well, the citywide design guidelines do apply here.
No,
so-
no, no, I didn't mean that they don't apply. I don't think that they're being violated here.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
I
Like,
agree.
for example, the privacy issue. There's no window there to be looking into the
Well,
bedroom.
privacy wouldn't count anyways because privacy is only measured from public spaces of the subject property.
Oh, that's so stupid.
Views from bedrooms to
I
bedrooms
remember
don't
that.
count.
Right. You can look into my living room, my bedroom, fine.
And let me just, while we're talking about this, just a kind of a more public statement. Some of the letters, and I've heard people in the community several times, there's an expectation that because we're in a historic district, you're not going to see things. And the reason we're here at the commission is because we knew from the beginning this was going to be visible.
Yeah.
If they could have made this invisible, we wouldn't even be here.
Right.
So I
Right.
just want everyone in the world to understand that, so.
Yeah.
There was concern from the neighbor to the north about the mass and the concern that she would lose light into her kitchen and because of this suddenly large,
Yeah,
addition.
I'm
And
sorry.
the neighbor behind did express
I knew I
concern
shouldn't
about the
have
mass.
said that
It's
as
okay.
definitively.
It's okay. But is that, firstly though, I wanted to say about stepping in the first floor, I actually would have prefer it this way because here, if you look at the slide, we at least get that break in the wall vertically, that if both walls were the same depth, I guess is the word, it would just be like a big, huge white wall. At least here we get this, I don't know what we're calling it, eyebrow or whatever we want to call it, that at least kind of breaks that up.
No, it does break the mass, definitely.
And I don't know what we could have done otherwise, put a wood beam in there or something, a detail
Not
to
on a
break that
Spanish,
up,
though.
right?
Yeah,
So
we
it's
we
not the
did
right
that on, we
style?
did that recently
Yes,
on
we
that
did.
second story
But there's
edition.
not really a way to do that stylistically here?
No, what
I
I
don't think.
meant was step in the first story and step in the second.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But
she
then
meant-
you've got just this straight vertical.
No, I think she means step in the first story and
And
then
then step
step
it
the
again?
second even more.
The second.
Oh, so go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Oof, I see.
There you
Okay.
go again.
There we get it. Okay. I see where you're coming from now. Okay. So is it within our purview, if we're concerned that the overall scale of it is just too big, to reduce that? To say we want it to be made smaller?
DRB has asked for reductions in massing. Usually it's on the second floor, because that's where you have the sense of an overbearing mass. Here, I think we have a decent distance. Let's go to the site plan. Which way is that? Sorry. There's a pretty decent setback on both sides of this house.
It does look like that.
And the concern about sunlight coming into the kitchen, which I understand can be a concern, we wouldn't require a shade and shadow or a study for a project like this. And I'm not sure that it's, there may be a time of the year in winter when maybe the sun low in the sky is doing something different. But this is a really generous setback, and then we have the driveway side, so we didn't, at staff level, we didn't think there was any issue with overbearing massing. We were pretty much okay with this project and thought it was, this is the biggest addition the commission has reviewed in a district, so I was really interested to see how we all, look at it, so.
And I think that's something I think is sort of piggybacking off of what you mentioned earlier. I think there is a perception by folks that were champions of historic districts or that, at least signed an agreement, supporting it, that it meant that there wouldn't even be a project like this, that properties like this can't be made bigger at all. Homes, they're supposed to stay the way they are. And I hope people understand that that's not the case, that, these people are allowed still by right, like Jay said, to expand their homes, and as long as it's within the guidelines of the city, we're doing as much as we can to mitigate the effects of that, basically. We can't simply say, no, you can't build this project. We can't
And as
really
we do
that.
future outreach for the proposed historic districts and future ones, we now are beginning to develop a track record of what the commission has approved, and we'll be able to show people, this
Yeah.
is the type of thing that can be approved, but not necessarily, and, it'll help with our education.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right, Chris, is that it's not about preventing change, it's about managing change.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think for us, where you're seeing it most dramatically here is with the proposed changes to the front of the property. But I did just want to let the public know that I understand
Yes.
that concern when properties really expand their footprint and.
Yeah. All I can say
a
is,
lot of square
is
footage.
if this were in a neighboring city that didn't have a historic district, the house, I don't know. There's a good chance, not because of you, that's what you want to do, but someone could have scraped the darn thing and started from scratch. So this is historic districting working at its finest. So to that end, we do want to, yeah, I think we want to open up the public hearing one more time. You want to bring them forward? You don't have any questions, right? You thought you might have, but you don't now, right? Okay, so I think we're good. We're all in agreement on the conditions. We're not adding any conditions, right?
One question for Jay.
Oh, you are,
One more.
actually.
Oh, we are. Sorry,
Yeah.
one sec. Go ahead, what
Well,
are we
well,
at?
we're modifying the condition about the windows.
Oh,
to-
right, okay,
so-
thank you. And then,
And then I have an open question. Hollywood driveway up to the porte cochere and let them either keep the concrete at the back or possibly repave that in the future or as part of this project, or not?
I think it's, if that gate's open, it's visible,
Okay.
yeah, I think it should match.
Okay.
And then, what, can we require that those bricks come up from the center and that it be made?
You can. The danger is when the grass doesn't grow and people want to put the AstroTurf in, that we're going to have that, and that's something we're not going to want to see in a district. And
I mean, I don't really, I think
some
the
people,
bricks really
people have
distract.
put gravel in, which is kind of a neutral.
I'm in favor of leaving it to the discretion of the applicants.
So if they wanted to put those pavers down the middle, they could.
No.
Well, I would be careful with the discretion.
No, a discussion about whether to remove bricks and replace them with either grass or some kind of ground cover or gravel.
But otherwise, leave it the bricks.
Hollywood driveway.
I think we tend not to make people do work. That's my impression. So, yeah, but if you feel strongly about it, you can, yeah.
I guess it's just, we should be clear what we don't want, I guess. If it's going to be changed, it could be changed to X, or it should stay the same.
Yeah, I think staff are clear on no pavers.
Okay.
That's,
Okay, and if the Acopians find that some of the areas are damaged or the trees have kicked up some areas toward the back, you'd like to see new concrete there, but we could work with them to make sure it doesn't affect the roots of the trees, or they can
Yeah,
mitigate
and I
that
think
somehow.
new concrete, they do it very differently now. They put in a big wire mesh barrier in there, and this is just unreinforced concrete. When you re-pour the concrete, it'll be reinforced, and the roots won't have the lifting effect that they have now. At least I think that's how modern concrete is from the things I've seen. Okay, you said you have a question for Jay?
Yeah, Jay, one of the letters brought up the idea of the light posts from the sidewalk. Does staff have any view on that?
To be honest, I didn't catch that wasn't in the photographs. A problem with the photographs of historic districts is they are not taken the day the district is designated. If I were a lawyer and said, prove it to me that these weren't here, so if it's a big issue for you, we can talk about it, but I don't know that it wasn't an issue for me, basically.
Not an issue for staff. Okay.
Although I get it, and I know we don't want to encourage them for new development, and we've committed to the commission that we're going to bring new proposals for lampposts like that to the commission, not approve them at staff level.
can we make it a consideration, just so that we as a group weigh in to remove?
Sure.
That means we're not required to do it. It's just us saying that would be more historically appropriate if they were removed.
The posts in the front next to the
With the
pathway.
lamps, yeah. Since they don't fit with the style of the house, yeah.
Okay.
Would you guys?
Yeah, no, I'm
favor
with you on that.
adding that?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
with you on that.
Yeah. I have a question, speaking of lighting, about light pollution, and this is more of a general question, has lighting ever, I'm talking about exterior lighting, of course, landscape lighting, has that ever been a concern or an issue from neighbors with projects that, perhaps even a project like this, where there's anticipated increased activity or types of activity in the back that require additional lighting. And I'm just wondering about whether or not we should also be thinking about that or share concerns with neighbors.
Jay, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, well, even at the DRB level, it's a regular issue that lights on the sides of, we try to limit the number of lights. People are trying to overlight their houses left and right and put 20 can lights under the eaves. So we limit lighting to gathering spaces like a balcony or patio, to side doors, front doors, et cetera. Try to limit lighting on the fronts of houses, except, like I just said. And then when we're looking at the side adjacent lights, pointing to the neighbors, we'll often have a condition that they're shielded from lateral flow, or flow, is that the right word? But whatever, transmission. And I've even seen people, we've had some where we'll say that they should be directed downward. You know, we're not a dark sky city because that would be crazy. But, you know, we don't want to see people just lighting up their houses like crazy.
Okay.
So, but there are no lights proposed here, and if that comes to us later, we would, you know, use our judgment there.
Jay, you mentioned when we were, sorry, I'm going way back now, we were talking about the fence. If he potentially changes the fence on the north side, that, you know, staff would work with him to mitigate stuff with the tree and all of that. But fences don't require a permit anymore, so.
They require design, well, when they're visible, they require design approval.
Okay.
It is kind of a gray area, so
It
you're
is.
right.
That's-
The Acopians are on notice that because they have a nearby oak tree, if they did change the fence there, we should talk and get the arborist involved.
Okay.
But yeah, the mechanism is not going to be clear there.
It'll be tough. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have everything in place for one of my colleagues to make a motion, right? Jay, do you have any questions?
Are you bringing that?
No,
you bring
well, what we generally like to do, and I'll do
Actually,
this
sorry,
tonight.
I'm gonna open the public hearing.
Feedback,
Come on up, Edgar.
conditions, so that memorialize them.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for the comments. Now, I'm gonna start up with addressing about the design, the massing of the project. So we took into the consideration the privacy of the neighbors, the sound pollution, and also the visibility from the street, and the massing of it. So that 1 foot indentation, so because of the design, the way we wanted to achieve my client's request to get his dream house. So if we were to indent even more, that means we would have gone even more further into the backyard. So which means massing wise, it will be narrow and long, not pleasant. As far as the privacy goes, can we go to the site plan, please? Sorry.
If you could keep your comments brief, this is unusual, and the commission
Yes.
isn't asking you to change this, so.
Yes, sorry. Okay. So the juxtaposition of the garage and the patio, as you can see, the bathroom of the patio is on the backside, and there's actually a wall that's facing towards the northwest side, and the garage is, it's kind of enclosing the west side of the property, which means it's actually keeping it private, like the main gathering area, keeping it in the center of the property rather than, yes, some people say that it's going towards the property, like the back of the property lines, it's going towards the neighbors, but in reality, the idea is to block the sides and bring it to the center. So the noise, and then the pool has a waterfall feature, and on that east side of the property, they're all shrubs, like about probably 6 feet high. So that blocks another privacy.
Okay.
So we took that into consideration. And as far for the electrical energy consumption, we have a flat portion of the roof where we're gonna put solar panels.
Great.
Which gonna actually mitigate that concern. And yeah, that's pretty much
I
it.
did have a
Well, we
question.
haven't.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I hallucinate a vinyl fence? It's not on page
You
A11, but I
did
know.
not. Didn't I actually show it over there?
Yeah.
Yes, but don't speak when you're
You
not
have
there.
to stay right there.
So
point, not
basically,
speak.
vinyl
What's that?
fence is
Just not
that
speak.
slanted portion where you see
It's
on
right-
the
it's right over here.
northwest.
This word here is
Yes,
vinyl.
that's it. That's where it starts.
Okay.
It basically starts at the back of the garage or the front of the garage, and it goes all the way to there,
Okay,
right
so
there.
it won't be visible from the street?
No,
Okay.
it's not.
And it's not even that whole line, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
No,
half
it's
of
not.
it.
It just stops
Got
there, and
it.
then the chain link fence follows that.
Okay.
Good eye.
Yeah.
You redeemed yourself in your own mind, at least. Well, in mine too. But at least for your own sense of
But I
not
like
going crazy.
the idea that you're open to possible hallucinations.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to reclose the public hearing. Oh, no, Larry, you want to talk? Come on up. Reopening the public hearing.
I did want to mention that as far as the, any of the obstruction of the addition to any of the neighbors, there is no kind of obstruction because the property is somehow covered and surrounded by trees, and parts of the addition should not affect any of the.
And it's your intention to keep all those trees, right?
Yes, absolutely. Furthermore, regarding the neighbor that had a concern, I've actually, the Divine family to the east of me, I've gone inside her kitchen just 2 days ago. She invited me in. And we looked and she's like, actually, no, I'm under misunderstanding. I thought it would, but you could have a clear view of all the trees. In fact, the way the sun sets, it even doesn't affect the overall visibility or the view. So there's absolutely no issue there. The vents we will keep. As far as grass with the Hollywood, we'll attempt to replace those bricks and have beautiful grass and bring the grass back to life. Can we do pavers on the sides, just not overwhelmed? No? Okay. Fine.
Nice try.
What about,
Nice try with the pavers.
now regarding the balcony, you guys don't want to allow enclosement. Now, what about, do I have the option, maybe remove that overwhelming and figure something, if Jay believes that it's not original?
Yeah, yes, if you, I mean, that would take care of the low ceiling height, right? If
Right,
it were-
that, and maybe we could figure options to design of securing for the safety issue concern I have. Finally, as far as the windows go, so I can probably get some resources and redo those windows in the front and then do aluminum. Try to
basically all the-
mimic, I mean, I was going for the whole uniform look, and maybe if they can repair some of the windows and.
Yeah, so it would be the front and the sides
Okay.
of the original part of the house would stay the original windows.
Right.
And then the back you can do.
So
the
anything
different-
that's addition
Yeah.
would be,
Yeah.
okay.
And the Glendale Historical Society on their website has resources where they identify historic preservation experts who work on windows in particular. There are a few really good people around.
Our list is even better.
Oh, well, just hush my mouth. I'm glad to hear it.
Very well, then, that should answer all my
you, Larry.
questions. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your patience
again.
this evening. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and who wants to, Ray, do you want to just read it out and someone can say so moved?
Yeah,
So we make sure we got it right.
So we are going to keep the, let's go to the condition page. You are recommending approval with conditions. The second floor balcony will not be removed. The decorative vents will not be covered over or removed. We won't talk about the roof as a condition. If they choose to do that, we'll just let that happen. The front Hollywood driveway will be retained, repaired if necessary, and the brick will be removed from the center, replaced with an appropriate material, grass at this point, it sounds like. The windows will be maintained at the front and sides of the older part of the house, closely matching new fiberglass or fiberglass or wood, aluminum-clad wood will be used at the other openings. We're automatically going to make sure it meets zoning code, but we'll keep that condition as written. And do I have anything else? We're going to keep the inset the way it is. If the commission wants to put a condition for the stucco to specifically not be a flat, smooth stucco and have a traditional texture, that's something we would try to work with them, but if you want the extra oomph of a condition.
I mean, I feel more comfortable with that if we can yeah, I mean, I guess if we have to be, do we have to be careful of setting them for something they can't do because the tradespeople don't exist?
We could, to the degree possible, work with the stucco contractor who's capable of, restoring a traditional plaster finish, stucco finish.
Yeah,
So.
That sounds
sounds
good.
good.
And let me just finish up. Balcony we've got. Yeah, I think that's everything unless I missed something from you guys.
Light posts are recommended or nothing to,
Excuse me?
The light posts,
light
anything?
posts are just.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, yes, a consideration to remove the light posts.
Desiree loved you tonight.
I wrote it down. He was checked off my list.
Not really, technically, unfortunately. You can ask us afterwards, certainly. Okay, you know what, I'll open the public hearing for you. Steve, you gotta come up to the thing, though, and you
He's
gotta
the boss.
ask your question.
Thank you. I guess being that I live behind you guys, there is a chain link fence in the back. It provides no soundproofing at all, especially if there's gonna be a pool and a lot of activity in their backyard. So that noise is gonna go right to my bedroom that's in the back of my house. So if that chain link fence is not replaced with a cinder block wall, or I don't know if it's gonna be a vinyl wall all the way across to my garage, or is that chain link fence gonna stay?
So
That's my question.
you're welcome to put any kind of a fence on your side that you want.
But see, that's the problem. My property line is only on the apex of their lot in the back. But my next door neighbor, he's the one that has the chain link fence that he shares with them. So I can't ask my neighbor to say, hey, put up a cinder block wall. I mean, I could, but then it's not on my property. So the fact is that sound travels not only in the direction of my neighbor, but in my backyard as well.
So my understanding, and planning staff can clarify, is that you can't have a chain link fence with a swimming pool because it's a danger.
Right.
You can't, because kids can climb over it, that
Right.
you need to have,
It's possible, I've never heard that, but it's possible.
Yeah, no,
so.
she's right, actually, I believe that is a thing.
yeah,
It is
so,
a state law now, so.
yeah, so,
About 5 years ago, there was a coyote den that was in their backyard that we can see because of the chain link fence there. They would come into the front yard and nest there, and we hear them howling at night. So the chain link fence is still there, and
So-
I think it's an issue.
so I think this would, I mean, the laws governing fence safety around pools,
Pool
I think
safety,
will
yeah.
take care of your.
In theory, it should.
Yeah.
I don't think it's within our purview to be able to even make any kind of a consideration or condition about the barrier fence at this point.
Building and safety will review that, although there are those kind of vertical slats that you can weave through the chain link that
Maybe-
would probably cut down on some sound, but maybe not as much as you're hoping. But I echo, this is the most neighborly hearing I've ever attended in 17 years of doing hearings. And I think you have a good audience, hopefully, to, share your concern and see what they can do.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Did you want to address that, Edgar? Come on up.
While you're up.
Edgar,
So,
sorry.
his concern we can understand, but his property is barely touching.
Okay, we're not going to get into that part.
Yes,
But I
but
do
we're-
think that
we're-
building and safety is going to probably make you change that. Because
I
of
doubt
a
it
change
because
in-
it's not like, the pool itself is gonna have a fence. Like, it's gonna
Around
cover.
it.
Yeah, around it, as far as the safety goes, because it's required.
Right. Oh,
Pool
right, 'cause the
fencing,
front the
42
driveway
inches
fence
high is
isn't enough.
required by
Driveway
the
gate isn't
code
enough.
to have, and alarms on all doors that lead to the pool
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
house or whatever. So that's by the code. And as far as the noise, I mean, we can remedy that by planting some bushes and brushes to just, some box trees.
Yeah.
Does the code require a fence around the pool?
Yes.
Well, no, it doesn't, because if they had a perimeter fence that
Right.
met the 5-foot height and no climbing, I guess,
Right.
requirement, they'd have to have a fence toward the house side of the pool, or the door alarms, like he said.
Right, because
So,
people,
yeah,
I think in this case, it does have to have a fence around it because the rest of the fences around the property don't comply.
well, but very often people will put a fence like this because they have children. And so, they're less concerned about, random strangers getting in and drowning than they are their kids falling into the pool.
people can be so cruel.
But the thing is that often those fences are temporary, not permanent. Like when the kids get older, they get rid of them. So
Correct.
it's, I don't know what to tell you. It's really, we're not going to,
We're beyond our
we're
ability to
beyond our
help you.
scope. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Closing the public hearing.
Oh, you
All
sure?
right, so you've stated what the motion needs to be. Do I have anybody that wants to say so moved?
The conditions, right, and the one consideration, so. So we need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Yurka. And then do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yes. We have a second. Jay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Doom,
Aye.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Yurka,
Yes.
Chair Cargnani.
Yes.
4-0, approved with conditions.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Any animosity, if there ever is any animosity among you guys, it's our fault, not your guys' fault. So don't ever take it out on each other.
Now, you just come back here, we will hug it out.
We will hug it
I look forward to your block party. This is one of the nicest, friendly neighborhoods. When I think it was our first, second meeting with the radio guy, oh my gosh, it was bitter and angry. They all stormed
Okay.
out. So you guys are very humble. Thank you very much.
Yay, good job, everybody.
Yeah, way to go.
Item 7B, review of the 2022-2023 Certified Local Government Report. Jay, you're up.
All right.
Again.
I printed out the CLG report. I have to open it here and put it on the screen. There's not much, thank you. Oh, great. Thanks. There's not much to report here that's unusual in any way. Just so we remind everyone of what this is.
Yes.
Because Glendale is a certified local government, which is a federal program in which we become eligible for the state to disseminate federal grant money. Yeah. And bye. No, you can go. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're done. You're free. Off you go. Thank you
Go
very
have a
much.
nice dinner.
Sorry, Jay, please continue.
So the CLG, Certified Local Government Program, means that we have passed certain qualifications that are mandated by the state in terms of having a commission, having an ordinance, having the ability to designate properties. In our case, we have professional staff, but that's not a requirement, so it's just an enhancement. And as part of this, we're required to file a report every year on their strange September to or October to September schedule, which makes it look weird when I'm always thinking, how many register properties did we designate? How many Mills Acts did we do? I'm always thinking calendar year, so it always feels kind of funny when we do this. We listed 4 properties during the reporting period. They were all recorded with the county because they were all Mills Act properties, and we record the contracts. We delisted the Gregorian's house, you probably remember, on Cedar Hill. And we did that with good cause, I think, so I don't think there'll be any controversy there. What else do we have here? A lot of this is the same from year to year. Here are the commissioners who have served. So we have, I think, 6 of you during the reporting period. And then we have our staff that we have a CLG coordinator, me. We give them an attendance record of your participation in our various meetings. This year, we did not do very well on trainings, so this would be an opportunity to admonish you to do more trainings. Kathy, I did not add the ones that you gave me, but I'm going to put that in. This is due next week, so I'm going to add those to this. I didn't have time today to put it in. The California Preservation Foundation Conference this year is the end of May, and Kathy is presenting, so you should go check her out.
Good
And And so you will be able to give us that for the next year's report. If you're interested in attending, you can go to californiapreservation.org or send me a note and I'll give you information. We're trying to send some staff there. Yeah, it's at the Biltmore Hotel this year. So they alternate between Southern California, Northern California, and then try to go to different cities. And it hasn't been in LA for a while.
And how many days is it?
It's 3 days, more or less. I think they have some stuff on Saturday, some study tours and things like that. It's really 2 days of sessions. The primary educational sessions are on 2 days. And so let me know if you're interested. I don't know that we'll have money. We're trying to send some staff people this year. So you may have to foot the bill yourselves. The day rate, I think, is about 200, or since we're members, it's maybe $180.
At least, right?
Yeah, not a huge one this time.
$180?
Cash. Yeah. Yeah. No, for the day rate, yeah, the conference rate, I can't remember, is 3-something.
Yeah, not to stay overnight.
Well, it's a worthy cause to support the California Preservation Foundation. We've had this kind of, on this page, they're asking about historical context. We've thought that the East, West, and now North Glendale studies were going to be moving forward over the last couple of years, so this has been kind of a placeholder. I wrote here that we're going to begin this year because we have the RFP responses are due the week after next, and we're going to hopefully have a consultant in place summertime and hopefully have a survey beginning, I would think in fall sometime.
Wow.
And this is for everything north of the 134. We're pulling out North Glendale as a separate bid, just so City Council can evaluate the cost implications. I'm hopeful and will certainly advocate that we do all of this at once. It totally makes sense too.
Will they, in that survey, redo the areas that have already been done for districting and stuff?
Yeah, because they're going to be looking for other things. They're not looking, they look for other districts, but once they're in a district, they may identify individually eligible properties, which I know Kathy has been thinking about for a long time. And
So then does each property get re-evaluated?
yeah,
From a historic standpoint?
they will survey our existing historic districts.
Okay, so then any DPR forms that have existed before will get removed and new ones will be put in place?
No. The DPR forms for districts are different than the DPR forms that we'll get for this. We get 523A and B forms
Okay.
that are focused on kind of a different set. We're not looking for contributors and non-contributors unless they identify a new district, and then they identify contributors and non-contributors.
Got it. Thank you.
So, no, it's a pretty intense, and, it's going to take months and months to do the actual field survey. Before they do that, they'll develop a context and do an initial kind of overview survey. So, and we're going to have public outreach, we're going to have something up on the web, we're going to do our best to use our outreach tools to let people in the community know, hey, we're doing this, what do you know? Tell us about your neighborhood, tell us about that place that we may not know about. It's hard to do that kind of outreach, so some of it will be web-based, and to the degree possible, we're going to get input, but we'll definitely have things up on the web similar to what LA did for Survey LA. Probably not as robust as what they did, because I don't think we're going to have the funding that they did, but it's an exciting step forward. So what else do we have here?
How far north is North Glendale on your map?
All the way to Deukmejian. So it's everything that's in the Glendale part of the Crescenta Valley. North Glendale starts basically at Spar Heights, and I can't remember if Montecito, it might include Montecito Park and Spar Heights, and then everything north from there.
Probably in my neck of the woods.
Here we have that the doctor's house was put on the National Register, so by the Historical Society, so we've included that here. And anything else interesting? We have 107 properties in the Mills Act program. I just learned that a city in Orange County has over 400, so.
It's like Anaheim or something weird, isn't it?
City of Orange has a lot.
Is it
yeah.
Orange?
Yeah.
I thought I read somewhere. it was
But
Anaheim.
Orange has a lot of great stuff, so. Yeah, so this is, unless you have questions or if I missed anything, obviously I didn't include Kathy's educational and presentation stuff, but that'll be it for the final product.
Great.
That's all I have for you.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have no community development department updates, really. That
No, I kind of gave you some.
That was pretty much it.
Freebies, yeah.
okay. Then at 7:35, we're adjourned. Thank you for watching.
Thank